Hello and good day, subscribers. In this video, I wanted to review two of my favorite exchange traded funds in the field of information technology. As you might know, information technology stocks have been doing phenomenal in the past 1 year. In fact, when we look at the performance of different industries and different sectors in the stock market, information technology is on top of the list with a whopping 38.99%, close to 40% return over the past 1 year. So what better topic for a video than looking into two exchange traded funds in information technology. Now, given the demographics of the viewers for this channel, I've picked two different ETFs. One is in Canadian dollars and the other one is in the US dollars. So let's get started with the one in the US dollars and then we'll make our way to the one from Canadian dollars. So my pick for an information technology exchange traded fund in US dollars is a Vanguard ETF, ticker symbol VGT, Vanguard Information Technology ETF. What really stands out for me for VGT is their very low expense ratio. In fact, their expense ratio is only 0.10%, which is extremely low. The performance of course, this ETF has been phenomenal. In fact, looking at the performance in the past 5 years, they have over 140% return in total, which is just incredible. This ETF, of course, is a little bit more risky. You can see that from a risk potential, it is on the 5 grade, definitely more risk, but at the same time, it means that you get more rewards here. This is a very high quality ETF. In fact, according to Morningstar, it is ranked as 4-star. The return for this stock has been just phenomenal. If you look at it by the years, back in 2019, last year, it has a whopping 48.61% return, and you can see how it's performed over the past 10 years. Now, if you look at the average annual returns for this ETF, the 1-year return has been 36.23%, 5-year return has been over 20%, and the 10-year return has been an annualized return of 18.70%. Now, what this means is that if you had put in $10,000 into this ETF, your money would have grown drastically, and right now, after 10 years in 2020, it would have been worth $55,000 plus. Just incredible. Now, in terms of the holdings for this ETF, it consists of 316 different stocks. On top of the list, and in fact, the 10 largest holdings for this ETF, you have Apple, Microsoft, Visa, Intel Corporation, MasterCard, Cisco Systems, Adobe, Nvidia, PayPal, and Salesforce. These 10 largest holdings account for close to 60% of the total net assets for this ETF. The different companies that you have here for this ETF belong to different industries, including application software, communication equipment, and many more that you could see here on the screen. This ETF pays a very modest dividend that sits slightly over 1%, and you can see the latest distributions paid on a quarterly basis for VGT. The second ETF pick for this video is one that is in Canadian dollars. It is called iShares S&P TSX, or Toronto Stock Exchange Capped Information Technology Index. Now, in fact, this is a fully Canadian exchange traded funds because all the companies that are part of the holdings of this ETF are in fact Canadian companies in the information technology sector. So let's take a quick look at it. First and foremost, the year-to-date performance of this ETF has been phenomenal, sitting at 29.93%. This is compared to only about 7% return year-to-date for the VGT that we talked about earlier. If you invested $10,000 here, your return would have been close to $54,000. Very similar to what we saw for VGT. For VGT, we had almost about $55,000 in total after having invested $10,000 10 years ago with the ETF. And you can see, of course, the annualized return per year for different time horizon. For 1 year, an amazing 49.31%. 3-year annual return of 33+%. 5-year has an annualized return of 24%, and 10-year shows an annualized return of over 17%. Definitely very good returns to expect from an ETF, and keep in mind here you're not actually picking any companies, so your risk is lower, and in fact you're just spreading the risk by picking one ETF that is invested in a multitude of different companies. The total net assets here sits at $341 billion dollar Canadian, and here we are only having about 16 holdings, 16 different companies that form this ETF. When we compare to VGT, there you had almost 360 plus companies. So really a much smaller collection of companies form this ETF. Let's take a quick look at the top portfolios. On top of this list, we have CSU, or Constellation Software Incorporation. It has a rating of 24.5%, followed by Shopify, which is of course a very renowned Canadian company. Almost any investor, I think, has heard about Shopify and its glorious returns in the recent months. And a number of other companies that I would scroll over. Some of them I'm personally not as familiar with. As for the risk indicator for this ETF, it's rated as medium to high. So almost like at the 4-star level, just indicates that perhaps it's a little bit less volatile as opposed to an ETF where you have a 5-star ranking for the risks. The expense ratio here is a little bit higher when we compare it to VGT. For VGT, we were looking at an expense ratio of only 0.10%, whereas here for XIT, the expense ratio is sitting at 0.61%. So keep that in mind. Although the difference might not be as considerable over time, and for larger amounts of funds contributed and invested, this difference is actually really gonna show up itself. Lastly, the point I wanted to bring to your attention is that XIT does not pay any dividend at this time, which is not so unlikely for companies that are information technology sector. Keep in mind, for XIT, because we have a smaller group of companies, only 16 of them, so the chances that these companies, none of them actually pay a dividend is higher, which is in fact the case for XIT. There you have it, folks. 2 different ETF, exchange traded funds in the sector of information technology, the first one being in the US dollar and the second one in Canadian dollar. I hope you found this video of value. Personally, I'm invested in XIT and definitely would like to add to my positions in XIT, but also after having looked at the performance of VGT, I'm very much intrigued to invest in VGT as well. Are you invested in any of these exchange traded funds, or do you have a different ETF that you prefer to invest in? Let me know in the comment section below. As always, thank you so much for watching this video and supporting this channel. Your feedbacks and comments have helped us tremendously in making quality videos here on Momentum channel. On Momentum channel, we post weekly videos about stock market analysis and financial freedom. We hope you consider to join us by subscribing to this channel. Thank you and have a great day.